Eh, did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the
Hell
consequences
yeah.
when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh.
Terrence Howard has finally cracked his knuckles and laid every card on the table, and the tea he's serving isn't merely hot, it's a rolling boil on the verge of overflowing. For years, the Oscar-nominated star of Hustle and Flow has hinted that Hollywood went out of its way to ice him out because he refused to play along with a set of shadowy, behind-the-scenes initiations. Yet the conversation stayed in cryptic interviews and half-finished anecdotes. Until now. With fresh accusations swirling around Sean Diddy Combs, the velvet ropes have been yanked open, exposing a backroom world where money, power, and coercion allegedly mingle. And Diddy? He's only the tip of an iceberg that a lot of insiders suddenly seem terrified to sail past. And Howard didn't just name-drop the bad boy mogul and walk away. He tossed a spotlight directly at Diddy's rumored partner, Young Miami. Word has long circulated that she's been a recurring guest at those famously exclusive parties. But Terrence's new revelation cranks the rumor mill into overdrive. He claims he personally filmed her in an act so wild folks had to clutch their pearls and their phones before the story even fully landed. Forget typical industry gossip. This stuff is nuclear, ready to blow up group chats from Hollywood Hills to South Beach. And what's even crazier, nobody coaxed these stories out of him. There were no leading questions, no tell us about Diddy prompts. Terrence just showed up on a podcast, leaned into the mic, and detonated.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands-off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're gonna get a real reaction back.
One moment, the hosts thought they were getting standard actor talk. The next, they're refereeing a real-time expose. And the details he laid out sync disturbingly well with whispers that have followed Diddy like a low hum for decades. Whispers of sketchy setups, odd role-play scenarios, and men walking away feeling less than dignified. And according to Howard, the origin of his own Diddy story sounded innocent enough. The music tycoon allegedly reached out saying he needed acting guidance. Now, sure, Diddy's dipped his toes into film before. Remember Monsters Ball and A Raisin in the Sun? But those roles hardly demand an Oscar-level tutor. Still, Terrence thought, why not? If it's business, he's game. So he shows up expecting a serious workshop, only to realize the atmosphere is less drama class and more Playboy Mansion after dark. The energy, he says, flipped on a dime. Eye contact got weird, comments got suggestive, and the whole vibe felt like a setup rather than genuine collaboration. And Howard shut that down in record time. He made it crystal clear he wasn't there for any extracurricular audition and bounced before things got messier. Yet afterward, he began connecting dots. Terrence now claims he's heard, sometimes firsthand, about nearly every man who's crossed Diddy's threshold, winding up in compromising situations that yank away their so-called man card. We're not just talking awkward small talk and champagne toasts. According to Terrence, the stuff that goes down in those mansions would make a HBO late-night special look PG-13. And if this sounds familiar, that's because Terrence has been hinting at Hollywood's twisted rule book for years. Back in 2022, when he abruptly announced his retirement, insiders scratched their heads. The man was landing prime roles, remember Empire, harnessing a loyal fan base, and publicly steering clear of drama. Why walk out when the world still wants what you're selling? Terrence claimed the answer was simple. The industry kept testing his masculinity, pressuring him into humiliating costumes or roles that had nothing to do with story and everything to do with breaking his pride. Once he kept saying no, the studio whispers cranked up. Diva, difficult, temper problem, the same labels Hollywood slaps on outspoken women to silence them. And fast forward to his retirement. The timing looked random, but Terrence insists it was an unavoidable step.
A man don't take it, a man gives it. But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, you give up your ability, your right to being a man.
Executives, he says, lined up increasingly bizarre requests. Wear a dress just for laughs, tweak his speaking voice to be softer, show up to meetings where the dress code apparently included losing self-respect at the door. He refused every time. Cue the professional frost. Fewer callbacks, fewer invites, and more eye rolls behind closed doors. Hollywood didn't storm him out with torches. It simply turned off the lights and hoped he'd shuffle away quietly. But Howard didn't stay gone for long. He tiptoed back onto the scene, older, wiser, and, by his own admission, completely done with censors. Now he'll call it exactly how he sees it. One recurring gripe he can't let go: persistent offers to don a dress on screen. When asked, why is that a big deal? He breaks it down. It's not about gender expression or artistic experimentation. According to Howard, these offers come packaged with smirks and side looks like, let's see if we can punk the big tough guy. The part rarely matters, the humiliation does. And Terrence stands on his principles. If it ain't plot relevant, he's not the clown in their circus. And she's not isolated either. Over the years, actors like Dave Chappelle, Marlon Wayans, and most vocally, Cat Williams have claimed Hollywood dangles giant checks in front of black men, hoping money will coax them into roles that undermine their masculinity. Cat unloaded decades of frustration on Club Shay Shay, calling it a systemic pressure tactic wrapped in dollar signs. When that interview roared across social media, Terrence Howard rushed to co-sign, blowing holes in the long-running narrative that he was simply hard to work with. In his eyes, he wasn't a problem child. He was a man who wouldn't allow the industry to treat him like a puppet. And Howard quoted his late father for emphasis: never remove the vertebrae from your back or the bass from your voice. Society, he argues, now punishes men who stand 10 toes down. Everything is androgynous. Success equals softness, he lamented, adding that real strength, especially black male strength, sends Hollywood executives scrambling. He refuses to apologize for keeping a square jaw and a deep voice. Maybe your script needs to grow, he quipped, because I am not shrinking. And data points keep piling up, and they increasingly point back to, you guessed it, Diddy and Young Miami. After Howard's podcast went viral, 50 Cent initially tried to stay neutral, posting, "I'm keeping it positive, God bless." Given his decades-deep petty feud with Diddy, that silence felt like the calm before a Category 5 meme storm. Sure enough, days later, he broke his Zen stance, hinting on Instagram Live that he owns video evidence far more damning than public lawsuits. Industry insiders swear these tapes, not random hearsay, feature Young Miami in shocking scenarios recorded by none other than Terrence Howard during one of those clandestine parties. And public receipts already foreshadow how messy this could get. Take Gina Huween, a rumored Diddy fling who dared to post couple selfies. Young Miami reportedly snapped. Alleged DMs show Miami mocking Gina's hopes for a baby, belittling her music career, and dropping the now legendary Munch threat: "If I wanted you to eat me, Diddy would have you on your knees." Fans nearly blew out their speakers laughing, but beneath the shade lurked something darker. A hierarchy of power where anyone outside Miami's circle gets humiliated, threatened, or, as some suit filings describe, coerced. That brings us to the anonymous Jane Doe lawsuit, the one claiming Diddy forced her to swallow mystery pills in July 2022 and kept her intoxicated and unconscious for marathon parties stretching into 2024. Her declaration says she woke up battered, bruised, and eventually pregnant, with Diddy allegedly pressuring her to end it. The docs single out Carrie Brownlee, aka Young Miami, for allegedly harassing Doe into a miscarriage. If those claims hold weight, Young Miami isn't just arm candy. She's an alleged enforcer, making sure no woman threatens her spot in Diddy's orbit. And then there's music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones. His lawsuit pours gasoline on the fire, alleging that Young Miami witnessed and sometimes facilitated Diddy's drug-soaked escapades. One account is pure chaos. Thanksgiving night 2022, Diddy allegedly beckons Jones and Forrest Taylor into a studio bathroom to do lines. Jones balks because he's cashless. Moments later, Diddy purportedly snorts up with Young Miami instead. On another occasion, Jones says Miami's cousin literally barged into a bathroom, groped him, and, when rebuffed, kept undressing and chasing him across the studio floor while Diddy's staff looked on. No one intervened. No one stopped recording. Jones calls it a pattern, not an anomaly. And Howard's claims add yet another dimension. Young Miami allegedly served as Diddy's traveling supplier. Court records cite the 2023 Something in the Water Festival rehearsals in Virginia, where Jones claims Diddy was openly doing coke in his dressing room. When an assistant forgot to pack Tucci, Christina Coram reportedly coordinated a courier flight from Miami to drop the goods, suggesting an entire logistics branch devoted to Diddy's private habits. The suit further alleges Miami, along with models Jade and Daphne Joy, received monthly wire transfers from Robin Greenhill, compensating them for roles that sound less like guest appearances and more like high-priced entertainment services within a criminal enterprise.
So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at?
That's where 50 Cent's tease gets terrifyingly real. Remember, 50 thrives on public humiliation, and his antagonism with Diddy goes way back. Snarky captions, sly commercials, the infamous take that jabs. If he truly has a 4K clip of Young Miami acting out the allegations, releasing it could reorder the entertainment landscape overnight. Labels would scramble, brand deals would freeze, and attorneys would set phones on fire. Meanwhile, Howard isn't backing off. He insists he's still holding heavier ammunition, documents, videos, text threads from industry figures who urged him to stay silent. His recent interviews feel like the appetizer to a main course he's still plating. Skeptics ask, why now? Howard replies that time's up on fake alliances. I gave them grace, he says, and they used it to bury me. Now grace is gone. And can Hollywood ignore him? Harder by the day. Each revelation lines up with another lawsuit, another deposition, another Instagram clue. Even mainstream outlets that once treated these stories like fringe gossip are devoting full-length segments to Howard's account, no longer able to brush off the overlap between his narrative and sworn court statements. So here we are. Diddy, Young Miami, million-dollar hush payments, alleged coerced pregnancies, and a veteran actor finally refusing to dim his spotlight. If 50 Cent decides to push the big red button on that rumored footage, the dominoes could crash fast and loud. Celebrity endorsements yanked, streaming deals collapsed, entire catalogs shelved while lawyers draft emergency statements. What do you think? Is Young Miami merely collateral damage in Diddy's orbit? Or is she a core conspirator hiding in plain sight? Is Terrence Howard exposing a poisonous underbelly of Hollywood that's bigger than any one mogul? Drop your take below, smash that like, share with every group chat that lives for drama, and seriously, enable notifications. Because if you think this roller coaster has peaked, buckle up. The next loop might turn everything upside down.